Good morning, second and third graders. It's Monday, March 23rd. This is Bible for Monday. I wanted you to remind you, or if your parents haven't told you on Facebook, I sent them. I've sent email put on Facebook. We're going to have Virtual Spirit Week this week. Monday, which is today, is Pajama Day, which every day may be Pajama Day at your house. I know if I was homeschooled, I would want to wear my pajamas every day. So it's Pajama Day and watch your favorite movie and share your favorite bedtime story. So if you would like to share it with your siblings, your mom and dad, or they've read it to you, and if you'd like to ask them to send me a message on Facebook or put on Facebook, what is your favorite bedtime story? I love Corduroy. Corduroy is one of my favorite. All right, we're going to talk about Elijah again, and you're going to notice on our Bible card this week, it looks just like the one last week. Miss McNary made an oops last week when I did Bible. I kind of had changed, and I didn't realize I had the wrong card when we taught about Bible. So you're going to see the same card again, and I'm going to go over that story again, and then it'll talk more about that. All right, how many of your mom or dad, grandma or grandpa are coffee drinkers? Some of them may not like it at all, but some of them may love their coffee. If you've ever smelled coffee, and if you've never smelled it, maybe your parents have some beans or coffee grounds there. You may ask them to smell it. When you smell it, you're going to smell that it is bold, which means strong. Okay, you may say it's smelly. Some of you may like the smell. Some of you may not. I love to smell coffee. But some of your parents may drink some strong coffee. We may say it's bold coffee. It's strong. And we're going to talk about Elijah being bold. That means strong, courageous. He wasn't fearful. He didn't say things. He said things without worry. So we're going to talk about how he was bold in standing up for God. And I know I told the story last week, but it is also one of my favorite stories. We can see God's awesome power and know that what he did for Elijah, he can do for us today. So Elijah's been through some discouraging times. He's been through some rough times with King Ahab. And the drought. So we had to go out to the brook. God fed him with the ravens, and then he sent him on to the widow's house after that. Well, after all that's gone on, it's been 3 years since the drought has started. God told the prophet Elijah to go speak with King Ahab. Well, King Ahab was not his favorite person, but he had to go with boldness. So Elijah set off to do just as the Lord has said. When Elijah met with King Ahab, the king blamed the drought on Elijah and called Elijah a troublemaker. Elijah reminded King Ahab that Ahab was the real troublemaker in Israel because he had stopped worshiping the one true God. King Ahab worshipped an idol named Baal. Not only that, King Ahab encouraged the Israelites to worship this idol too. So with his bad choice, he took others with him. The disobedience of King Ahab and the people is what caused this drought for 3 years. I know right now we can't even imagine 3 years without rain, and I hope we don't have to ever know what it's like, but right now we've had rain and rain. So as Elijah was talking to King Ahab, he told Ahab to invite the Israelites and the prophets of Baal to meet him on Mount Carmel. He wanted to prove who was the real God, the Lord God in heaven or Baal. When the day of the challenge arrived, Elijah and the 450 prophets of Baal gathered on Mount Carmel. Elijah shouted to those people, "Make up your minds, make a choice today. If the Lord is God, worship him." Elijah boldly challenged the prophets of Baal to see if they could prove that Baal was greater than the Lord God. Oh, I love this story. I cannot imagine being there, but I would have loved to have been on Elijah's side. So Elijah told the prophets of Baal, "Build your altar to your God, little g." Elijah told them to prepare it with an animal offering, put wood on the fire, but don't light the fire. The prophets of Baal prepared the altar. They called on the name of their God, little g, to start a fire on the altar. They jumped up and down. They danced around their altar, but had no fire came. So they were jumping up and down, dancing, trying to get the fire to start. So around noon, Elijah began asking if their God was asleep. "Maybe Baal can't hear you because he's thinking about something else," Elijah said. "Maybe you need to shout louder so he can hear you." The prophet shouted louder, but nothing happened. So when evening came, this is the part that I love the best. It's so exciting. When evening came, Elijah gathered the people. He built an altar to the Lord. He used 12 stones. He dug a trench around the altar. He piled the wood on it, placed the animal offering on top, and finally water from 4 pots were poured over the altar. Not 1 time, but 3 times. So Elijah prayed that God would show the Israelites that he was a true prophet of God and that they would worship the Lord God. Instantly, the Lord God answered with fire from heaven. It burned up the offering, the wood, the stones, the dirt, and all of the water. The people realized immediately that the Lord was truly God, and they fell face down, repeating, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." The prophets of Baal were taken to the brook Kishon and put to death. They no longer would lead the people of Israel away from the Lord God. Soon afterwards, it started to rain and the drought was over. All right. In Old Testament times, people often made images of animals or men. You've probably heard the golden calf story in the Bible. The people would worship these images as God's little g. They would bow down to them, give sacrifices, and promising that they and their children would serve these false gods. I know to us right now that makes no sense. I don't think a statue can do anything for me. So to us, this really, I know I've taught this lesson before, and kids are usually like, that's just, I would never do such a thing. It wouldn't help us. Well, God wanted the Israelites to stop this. He wanted them to only do those things for God and not handmade things by men. The Israelites stopped worshiping God because they forgot God's laws and everything He'd done for them. God has done so much for us. He's done so much. He did so much for these Israelites over all these years, and they just had forgot. So when we don't take time to remember what God has done for us, we forget and we pull away from God. Daily right now is a time to thank God for what He's done for us. We have parents, we have a home, we have friends, we have family, we have our health. God is taking care of us. When we forget to thank Him and forget to think about those things, everything He's done for your family and for you, we get off track. It says most Israelites were worshiping a false god named Baal, and only a few people during Elijah's time were following the one true God. Because of this, Elijah could have been killed for his devotion to God, which was a strong reason for him to be fearful to hide. But instead, Elijah showed great boldness and courage. He got this boldness from God. Elijah showed boldness by facing these men and challenging the prophets of Baal. And he faced boldness in having them cover his altar in water, because you know as well as I do that water puts fire out. And then also he was bold in his prayer to God. Because like I just said, we usually use water to put the fire out. He put these things on there and then poured 3 rounds of the 4 pots of water on there. He asked God something in prayer boldly. So he was bold. He wasn't fearful. He was courageous. He could say things without worrying here. He trusted in God, like we talked last week. He trusted in God that God would help him see this, because his motive, his job is he wanted to prove that God was Lord, that there was only one true God. So we're going to talk more this week about Elijah and as he moves on and who comes up next. So I hope you have a wonderful Monday. And if you've watched this first and you've heard about Spiritual Spirit Week, the virtual Spirit Week, hopefully you'll participate and have a good time with that. I'll tell you each day what it is, and then your parents it'll be emailed to them. It'll be on Facebook every day. I hope you have an awesome Monday.